Good afternoon. My name is Maria Guerra Lapacek. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. Welcome to BACP's first webinar. So we're here talking about CHICABS, and I want to introduce Sean and Eric. Sean from ARRO and Eric from CURB.
Hello.
Good morning. Good afternoon, I should say. So why don't we go ahead and have Sean talk a little bit about ARRO.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd like to say on behalf of ARRO, we're so excited to be in this great town of Chicago. It's the city that I was born and raised in. It's a great taxi town, and we're just really proud to be here. ARRO's been live since 2016, January 2016 of this year. We're available in thousands of taxi cabs here in the city. We are also a national app, so we are live in New York, San Francisco, and Boston currently, and obviously Chicago.
Great. Eric, tell us about CURB.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have been live here in Chicago for about 4 years now, also in thousands of taxis here across the city, 60 other cities across the country as well. And Chicago is, it's been a great city for us. It's where we've done a lot of building in the past. Really a lot of our app was built and tailored here for Chicago just because of the high demand here. So yeah, excited to be here, excited to be part of the program, and happy to see what we're able to bring moving forward.
Great, and I just wanted to take a step back and explain to everyone what CHICABS is. It's our e-hail app program here in the city of Chicago. You can download either CURB or ARRO and e-hail a licensed taxi cab here anywhere within the city. So I just wanted to explain that in case folks at home on the webinar weren't sure what CHICABS is. So Sean, why don't you tell us why it's important for folks to download ARRO?
Well, it's important because it's a way to connect. People these days are looking for how to connect via their smartphone, and so ARRO is one of those answers for that. So, and people that use different ride shares, if there's some type of surge pricing or anything like that, ARRO doesn't surge price. So it actually can be cheaper, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, that that taxis can be cheaper during those high demand times for rideshare. But with ARRO, you're going to get a licensed chauffeur that's been drug tested, background checked, everything like that. So it's a very good alternative.
Great, and your point about no surge pricing, so you do not surge over your app.
No.
How much is the app for consumers?
Right now, it is free in both the Google Play Store and also the Apple App Store, and there is no booking fee for passengers.
Great, great. So Eric, tell us about CURB.
Yeah, so a very similar app. Biggest selling point, without a doubt, very similar, no surge pricing here, here in Chicago or any other city. Connecting with exclusively with taxi drivers, people here in the taxi industry. I think it's important. It's just the simplest way to hail a ride here on your smartphone. If you're not really into the whole rideshare thing with individual drivers picking you up, you want to make sure it's licensed, fully vetted, fully legal, and everything. This is the way to do it here with the taxi industry. So not only no surge pricing. It's a guaranteed. It's a very, very safe ride since these drivers have been through background checks, drug testing, like Sean had mentioned. It's a very safe ride with a lot of oversight compared to many of the other companies. We know what they're bringing to the table. It is as well a free app to download in the Apple and Google Play stores as well.
Do you need my credit card in order for me to sign up? And is my credit card number safe with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't 100% have to have a credit card on file when you sign up. You can pay in the cab with cash or credit card. I use the credit card through the app. It's just so much easier. It's an in-out, very simple. And it is, of course, very, very safe within the app. I mean, we are owned by Verifone. That is a very safe, secure payment system. So everything is run through there. Very secure app.
Great. Sean, what about ARRO?
Yes, so we do require to have a credit card on file, but the passenger does have the ability to pay in cash. Being Chicago, having a great business industry here, one popular feature that we have is our In a Taxi feature, and that allows people to actually manually pair to the vehicle that they're in if it's an ARRO equipped vehicle. And you'll usually notice that by the PIM in the back screen that will flash our emblem. It's like a 7-digit code. They can enter it in. It connects to the car. You can choose different credit card options, And what's nice about it is then it will send an email receipt. So for those business people who are traveling or just everyday use, it's easy to keep track of receipts for expensing.
Oh, great. So all I need is the number in the back that I can log in and pay for that ride even though I didn't e-hail it.
Yes, ma'am. Yep. So you can do both. You can e-hail, similar to CURB, where you need a taxi and they can come pick you up based off your GPS, or you can use our In a Taxi feature that allows you to pair it to the car and use your card that is safely secure within our app.
Great. And how many cab drivers are signed up on ARRO, and how are you recruiting cab drivers?
I'm not sure exactly how many, but we have done a lot of trips here. A lot of it is word of mouth, and I also go out and do sign-ups with drivers. But we also offer the ability for drivers to go online and sign up at www.goarro.com/drivers.
How about with CURB?
Yeah, so very similar. We've crossed 5,000 drivers here in Chicago. I don't know the exact number, but we do have someone at the garages who kind of makes their rounds between each fleet garage. You can sign up there with her, or you can also go online, gocurb.com/drivers as well.
Great. And what do you charge drivers for the service?
Drivers right now, they are being charged. It's a split fee. I believe it is $150 right now. But that is because we're making some changes and launching in different cities. That is always subject to change.
Great. How about ARRO?
Yeah, currently subject to change, but right now the drivers have to pay exactly what they're paying for a credit card. So currently it's 4%, but in a short few days, July 1st, it's going down to 3%. So that's exactly what a driver pays. So there's no difference to them as far as taking a credit card that's getting swiped in the back or through the app.
Oh, great. So tell me about a success story that you've heard from people who use your app that have been, satisfied customers, someone that has used your app and said, this is such a great product, it's saved me, or, give me a good success story. Eric, why don't we start?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had a few partnerships here with local running groups, and everybody knows, you're out training for the marathon out on the lakefront. Weather can blow in at any moment and come right across the lake, and now you're in trouble because you're out in the middle, nowhere near where your car would be. You're just along the lakeshore path. And we have had folks who have the app on their phone. They're able to, guess where they'd be in a few minutes with whatever the ETA would be, 3-4 minutes from where they are, and can get right to it right away by booking while they're running. So a very great feature. I think in a situation like that, it is very, very useful.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that being, stuck on the Lakeshore Drive path and not being able to get back to your car.
Yeah, absolutely. In the middle of a park when, you can see a storm coming in a few miles away. Yeah, incredibly useful.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
Sean?
it's similar experiences. It has to do with the ever-changing weather here in Chicago. It could be raining one minute and snowing the next. So very similar story to where families may be able to e-hail a car from an enclosure that they found out there and have a car come pick them up. Those are the success stories that we hear about. It usually has to do with rain or snow.
So do you ever have situations with ARRO where, speaking of the inclement weather here in the city of Chicago, where folks have tried to e-hail a cab in difficult weather and have had no success finding a vehicle to pick them up?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Chicago historically is very cab heavy down in the loop. So if you are in the outer areas of Chicago, you are subject to not having the inventory there. So there are, during high demands, and especially since there is no surge pricing, people do want to go to those apps to ask for a car. And but we're always trying to sign up more vehicles and inventory here in the city. So hopefully, as we improve the app and increase our inventory, we'll be able to have less of those stories.
Eric?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When you're dealing with a capped supply, it can happen from time to time. In the same situation where we're trying to keep that to a very minimal amount, but a thunderstorm blows in at 5:30 when everybody's trying to get a cab anyway. It can happen, or it can just take a little bit longer. And that's what we want to emphasize. If it is during a high demand period, what is traditionally a high demand period, just keep giving it a try. It may take a time or two, but But there are drivers out there. There are drivers who are, the drivers are very excited about the app. They're very, very interested in picking up rides through the app. So it can happen, but constantly adding drivers, increasing that supply is going to help.
Do you look at the data and kind of pinpoint what times of day, or does it peak demand when in fact the weather is inclement, and are the demand peak times like morning rush and evening rush, or do you see different patterns in the data that you look at?
Yeah, patterns change a lot, but there is, there's definitely, when there's inclement weather, you are going to see a bit of a jump, and that can go for incredibly hot weather, incredibly cold weather. Rain during rush hours definitely increases our app usage, but we can track that pretty well. We can also let those drivers know in the case where there is going to be inclement weather coming in, or we are specifically doing a promotion at a location, that there could be increased demand during this time to keep an eye in this specific spot. So.
Great.
Yeah, very similar. I mean, we're both kind of on par with the same thing here. Definitely weather can drive demand, hot, cold, precipitation, whatever. But we do look at those at obviously rush hour times. People, in the city can raise their hand, but that's when we do see the in a taxi feature definitely spike, because people don't necessarily always have to e-hail one when you're downtown where there is a lot of inventory of vehicles. So we do look at that data, and it's something that we're always trying to improve. Great.
How about your ability to court tourists? Do you go, with the tourism board and try to seek tourists? I mean, ARRO is in other cities. I think New York is your largest city that you're in. What are the other cities that you're available, and how do you attract tourists to your platform?
Yeah, what's nice is we're partnered with CMT Group. They are a credit card processor, and also they have PIMs in the back that have displays, and we have those running in our 4 different cities. We have them running here in Chicago. New York obviously is one of our largest markets, but then we're also in Boston and rolling out in San Francisco. So there is that kind of help there with being able to market to those business people or tourists coming here. It's nice because people want to just have one app that allows them to connect to any city that they're in. And that's kind of what we're kind of pushing for. And we like to advertise with the taxi tops, and also the advertising that the BACP has been putting on for us, being part of the CHICABS app program.
Do you find that it's important for people to have, like you're saying, accessibility of your app in other cities, and in order to win the loyalty of the customer? Is that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a big part of it, is that brand recognition across the nation will allow people to always, if they have success using the app and it's a great seamless experience, people will want to use it wherever it's available, and that's what we're pushing for on our side. And then also we have a social media team that also is very active in all of our different areas the markets that we're in, that try to push different events and trying to get out the words like the BACP's ChiCabie program.
Great. So Eric, how about CURB? I know you're available here in the city of Chicago, and you're venturing out into other cities.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what your efforts are there, and the customer experience in other cities?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are in more than 60 other cities nationwide. We do have a similar ability to run advertisements and commercials there in the back seat of the cab on the Verifone payment systems. That does run across multiple cities. We are launching Boston, Philadelphia, Miami, San Jose here very soon, and as well are finishing up for our main launch in New York City. So yeah, across cities, we just look to keep the experience as consistent as possible. We want to, whether you're here in Chicago or you're out in Los Angeles on business or vacation, keeping a consistent, great experience. Really wherever you are, and kind of to Sean's point as well, we do have a central location through primarily through social media, where you can get in touch with them with any issues or any questions, really regardless of where you are. So it's been really worked really well between all the different cities, but here in Chicago, we know we're able to deliver a very, very great experience.
Now, was that based, so your expansion, is that based on feedback that you've received from your customers, that they want to be able to access a licensed cab be able to e-hail a licensed cab in other cities, and therefore, want the app to be useful in more than one city, not just Chicago, but open it up, like you said, in New York, Las Vegas, Los Angeles.
Right. Yeah, we do take that into account. However, we have been live in a lot of these cities for a very long time. Portland, Dallas, Fort Worth, those are markets we've been in for a number of years. Washington, D.C. Yeah, some of these newer markets, including Las Vegas, where we have just recently launched. It is really about delivering that great experience across cities, really no matter where you are. So we definitely do take that into account. If there's the fleet there and there's the ability for us to work with a local fleet and provide a good experience, then yeah, I mean, it makes sense to go there.
Great. So let's talk about accessibility features. So a lot of persons with disabilities, hearing impaired, visually impaired, they want to be able to use these apps. Can you each talk about the features that whether your app or your general systems in the cab, because as you talked about, both of your app companies partner with credit card processors that work in the cabs, which aren't just credit card processing. They do, they have the displays. Some of them have commercials running in the back, or channel, news and those things. So, Sean, do you want to talk about your accessibility features?
Arrow's partnered with CMT. We've been in this market for, I believe it's like 5 to 7 years, something like that, maybe longer. But we got certified by the Lighthouse here. We actually work with them to finalize the tech and how it would work. People with low visibility or the blind can enter into an accessibility mode by tapping on the screen, and then everything becomes audible. So when people with those impairments do get into the car, the drivers are trained on how to enable that. And with that partnership and with that guidance from CMT, we are making the strides to make our app as user-friendly for people with impairments as much as possible.
So I just want to touch on that because I was aware of the touch screen that makes it audible.
Yes.
And we've heard from several people in the blind community about how important it is to know where they are. And so what it does, just to be clear, is that it tells folks, making a left on LaSalle, going straight, going east on, Clark Street and Randolph or something. So it tells the person what their location. So I just want you to explain how that works.
Well, yeah, I'd have to, I'm not sure if that's exactly how that works as far as the location based, but it does become audible. So, obviously there can be issues where people try to take advantage of those, but of those people. But what it does is it gives the amounts very loudly. It explains how they can, you can do a location, so it will actually split out different quadrants of the screen, and those people can touch that quadrant and it actually tell them their location. So they have the ability to follow along with a map to where they're at, just to provide them a little sense of so that they know that they're not being taken for a ride or anything like that. Unfortunately, it has happened in the past, but I know that with these apps and people wanting a better experience, drivers are stepping up their customer service.
Right. Eric, do you want to talk about CURB's
Yeah.
accessibility?
Yeah, sure. So we have worked with similar groups as well. Lighthouse was a big one a few years ago to create these accessibility features on the app. The big one is very similar, being able to tab through with a swipe of the screen, and it'll tab through to different fields. Every individual field that is usable in the app is going to read out to you. To just really so you know where you're on the screen, a double tap will enter you into that field. It is it works very well within the app. And again, I'll need to check on some of the features as well as you're going, how that GPS works as well and what it reads out to you, because those are constantly updated. And I know we just had another update go through. So yeah, I mean, it's something that is very important to us. It's, the accessibility side, being able to give everyone a seamless experience and a consistent experience in Chicago, across other cities, regardless of any disabilities that they may have, is very, very important to us.
Great. And then for those with people in wheelchairs, we have the centralized dispatch with Open Taxi. So those folks get routed to get a wheelchair-specific vehicle with them. Do you meet with, different communities the disabled and, you know, other folks with, you know, kind of special needs to when you do upgrades to your app?
Yeah, absolutely, and that comes mostly from our national office. It's something we do hope to do here in Chicago very soon, because you know you need that local feedback on every one of your major cities to see exactly what it is you need to do to meet the needs there locally. But yes, whenever there are updates, we are working not only with advocacy groups from those towns, but Open Taxi as well to make sure that we're meeting what needs to be done.
Great. And how about you guys?
Yeah,
Sean?
I mean, we take feedback from everyone. I mean, that's the name of the game, is trying to create the best overall user experience. So we take the feedback that we've been given for everyone and try to make changes to the app that way. I know that we are looking to get into some of those things that you mentioned, but I'm not sure that in Chicago specific that we're meeting with any advocacy groups. I do know Eric Lipp at Open Taxi, but and we've chatted briefly, but we haven't really got too much into it since they are the primary provider for wheelchair accessible vehicles.
Okay, so why don't we take a moment? I know we have the city's universal app program. We picked 2 different companies to do this app. You know, we did get a lot of criticism. Why didn't you just pick one? But you know, our answer and our response was always we wanted some friendly competition and we wanted to promote 2 apps. So why don't we take a moment to do some friendly competition, and why don't you talk a little bit about your app and why your app is the one I should if I were only going to download one app, why don't you each tell me, you know, why I should download yours. So Eric, why don't you start with CURB?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I think the fact that we've been in Chicago and a long-standing used app here in Chicago is very important. We have a great relationship with the fleets. We're well known among users here in Chicago as well. You know, having that familiarity is big. Plus, you know, since we've become part of Verifone, our tech has just been fantastic. I mean, we had a great app before. It is just the updates and the builds are really great. It's making a lot of quick changes here in the city to meet the needs of everyone here. But you know, what's central to the app is the ability to book that ride in a consistent and flawless manner. And here in Chicago, you know, through years of experience, you know, we've got that down. It is every aspect, every step of the process is great. It's simple, it's easy to use, and you know, that's based on being here a number of years and having used that experience to build up.
Great, thanks, Eric. Sean, why don't you brag about ARRO?
Yeah, competition definitely drives innovation, and that's something that we wake up every day with that passion. We have incredible partners here in Chicago, and we try to meet the needs of them and to bring business back. One big thing for our app is that it's both driver and passenger friendly, where there aren't necessarily fees associated with using the app or being a driver that fulfills those. So it is a little bit cheaper, but we also like to really push that every day. We're trying to make our app experience the best for both passengers and drivers, because if passengers are using it, drivers are going to pick them up, and if drivers you know, aren't having the best experience, passengers aren't going to get picked up. And that's really what's going to allow us to get that competitive edge and win, is basically having the best ride across the nation and worldwide.
Great. So I'm going to move topics for a second. I'm going to talk about our Chicago ChiTopCabbie program. And, oh, we have a question? Sorry, we have a question from our webinar here.
So the question is from a driver. They're saying when they move from affiliation to affiliation, the app sign-up function doesn't follow them, and so drivers are hesitant to continue to sign up with each company every time they move affiliation. Do you guys have anything?
For us, it's just a database of drivers and where they're located at. They all usually log in with the chauffeur license that's given to them by the city, so that's one way for us to track them. So that's it from ARRO's side. As long as their cars are e-hail enabled, driving with one of those fleets, there's no payment difference as far as going in and getting your cashiered trip, your credit cards, or any of your account trips getting cashiered.
Yeah, right. I mean, it is very similar with us. It's just part of you're there in a database regardless of who you drive for. You are you're driving under the CURB umbrella. So it is having to change any sort of information within the app based on your affiliation. That's something I need to look into a little bit further. But from what I understand, it's just a basic login process based on your technology there in the front seat.
And one thing you can always, for ARRO drivers, you can also always email driver support at goarrow.com. So if you ever have any questions, you can reach out to us and we'll definitely look into your matter.
Okay, and then one more question. Can one use in a taxi on CURB to pay just like on ARRO?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that is actually a new feature that we are launching here in Chicago. We've been testing through. We want to make sure it is seamless and there are no issues with it before we roll it out. It wasn't previously something we'd done, but here in the past few months, it is something that we've stepped up and are bringing in. It is testing in a few other cities. It should be live here very, very shortly.
Great. Okay, so I just wanted to talk quickly about our ChiTopCabbie program. We are out to find Chicago's top cabbie, and I wanted to just talk to you about each of your company's efforts to help us find Chicago's top cabbie, and also wanted to get a sense from you as to whether you think this is important for people to know or to identify, and just generally if you want to comment about the contest.
Sure, yeah. So I mean, it's very, very important for people to identify. On one side, we have these drivers who are out there interacting with a lot of people on a daily basis and really doing great things. They're helping people get there on time. They're helping people who are in possible emergency situations get to where they need to be and helping them through issues. So I think it's great that we're able to recognize drivers like this. I know through our app we've been running the nomination process. Every rider who finishes their ride is able to rate the driver. They make their nomination right there. We've also been pushing this in a number of partnerships, other event-based partnerships, organizational-based partnerships here around the city, when we're regularly emailing and sending people information about where we'll be, where we're promoting. We're including that in there as well. That there is this top cabbie contest, the run dates, and what you do to nominate a taxi driver who's done something exceptional.
Great, thanks, John.
I think this program is extremely important, just on the basis that if you ask someone, I've been working in the cab industry for about 10 years, as soon as I mention that, they're like, oh, I had the worst experience. I mean, that's what they always lead with. Why can't they lead? I think it's important to kind of change that around and say, how many countless trips have you taken that you've had a good experience, but you always have to focus on the negative? So I think this is really important that you are acknowledging those that perform their job well. And I think there's a lot of unsung heroes out there doing it. There's been news stories about people stranded in windstorms and helped into taxis, and I think that's really, those are the stories that kind of get drowned out by the bad experiences that are happening. We, on our social media side, we've been talking about Top Cabbie, and then also I believe we there may be an email that was being sent out for Top Cabbie program to our ARRO users.
Do you have a feature to rate the driver on your app as well?
Yeah, at the end of each trip, both e-hail, need a taxi, and the in a taxi, as soon as the meter is turned off, a few seconds later, you'll be prompted with a rating score. Great.
And do you do anything with that information at this point? I know you're new, and there's probably not a lot
definitely.
of information.
I know that a lot of app companies do a lot, build that into their algorithms on who gets what trips. But right now, we are definitely looking into that. But I'm not sure if it's a huge factor into who gets what trip.
Do you send them a letter at all, like congratulations, you're rated the highest?
We haven't done. I mean, that's obviously what we want to be doing. But as we're expanding quickly, I mean, those are the things that we tend to do and hope to do in the past, because we do appreciate, because the drivers are the lifeblood of the industry. So we want to really acknowledge the ones that are doing well, and helping us keep passengers in the taxi.
Great. And Eric, do you guys do any acknowledgement of your highly rated drivers?
Yeah, so I know in the past we've done a lot to incentivize. I know we're looking to get back into that again, just based on these ratings, their pickup, not only their rider ratings, but their pickup records as well. So we are going to be incentivizing for that, looking into how we can make that a better experience for those who are consistently delivering on that awesome experience that we love, and that they're doing an awesome job on the driver's side, which like Sean said, it can't be done without the drivers. I mean, that's central to how this works. So yeah, we are hoping to use that info here soon on some great incentives for drivers.
Great, yeah, and so that's precisely why we at BACP initiated this contest, is we wanted to make sure that, like Sean said, those unsung heroes get recognized. I have the same experience. When I tell people what I do, the first thing they want to tell me is some, bad cab story, and so I would like to counter that with, did you know that a cab driver saved someone's life? And that in fact happened last year when someone got out of a cab. The cab driver saw that they were behaving a little weird, followed the person and saw them jump off one of our bridges and called 911 and saved this gentleman's life. So I mean, there are a lot of unsung heroes that we don't hear about that we want to hear about. So please get your nominations in through 311, through CURB has the nomination process under the Rate the Driver, on social media through ARRO or through the City of Chicago. We want to hear these great stories. Again, any heroic story or any exceptional customer service, please send those our way. And so I want to thank Eric and Sean from CURB and ARRO for being with us here today. Thank you so much for being part of our webinar, and we hope to see you soon.